Good evening to you all. My name is Benjamin Brant. I'm founder and CEO of Ecoponex Systems. Happy to be here this evening. I'm excited to be able to share with you what we've been developing over the last 5 or 6 years that we believe will revolutionize how we produce fresh food and shift the paradigm from traditional agriculture to a means that we can supply food in urban areas where traditional agriculture would not be possible. So this evening, what I want to share with you are some of the plans and thinking behind our program to develop what we've called the Renewable Energy Efficient Farm, which is a technology that we developed that produces food using renewable energy in a closed-loop process, making it totally self-reliant and self-sustaining. So what I want to share with you is where we're looking to develop these REEF projects specifically targeted in opportunity zones where they can be an anchor tenant or a core piece of the overall real estate development, but they're in part of a larger mixed use, depending on the site that we select. So I want to tell you briefly about the company and really what are some of the key drivers that are pushing us, pulling us into this whole area of indoor controlled environment agriculture. I'll talk a little bit about the wide range of products that we can develop and sell in the marketplace, how we're taking this product to the market in opportunity zones, and as a case study, I'll share with you briefly highlighting some of the economics, the return on investment, and the impacts. So to tell you about the company, we are a developer, owner, operator, a proprietary technology for public benefit. So we are for profit, but we have community impact that I'll share with you that's rather substantial. And taking this approach, we focused on creating public-private partnerships where we engage local government, colleges, universities, school districts, and private technology providers in this partnership. So we own and operate those facilities, but under joint ventures, we'll license the technology into different projects. And standing behind the business model is really a world-class management team that has been at this for 50 plus years. And we have assembled a group of scientists and engineers that are skilled in some very unique areas of process integration and system optimization, which really allow us to have a competitive advantage and keep us at the forefront of this technology. So you'll see these are a few of the key players. John Singala, who was with us, created one of the first major utility-scale solar systems. Myself bringing experience in developing advanced biofuels. We have advisors from NREL, Dr. Stan Bull, Dr. Mark Edwards, many view as one of the pioneers in algae, is now retired from ASU, and we have a financial officer that has been involved in the renewable energy business. So just to highlight some of our capabilities and accomplishments to date, over the last 6 years, we've raised seed capital and Series A. We've raised grants from both public and private sources. We put together the engineering models which have been evaluated by third parties at NREL, Texas A&M, Colorado State, and we have graduated as one of the early portfolio member companies within the LA Clean Tech Incubator. Our patent or IP portfolio consists of licensed technology as well as filing for patent disclosures. And we have organized ourselves to develop and operate projects both here in the US and internationally in the Netherlands. So we have assembled our key technology partners and our strategic providers. We've identified where we can sell our products, and we've selected sites to develop. So our goal in all this is to be the best in class, most efficient producer of high quality food products at the lowest cost with the highest profit margin. And our other goal is we want to establish ourselves as a preferred provider and be the brand name recognized, offering this portfolio of fresh food products. We want to develop and roll out our technology in key markets around the US, in urban areas and in rural areas as well. And we want to use our science and engineering expertise to maintain the competitive advantage we've got in the marketplace with the best in class technology, so we stay ahead of the competition. And at the international level, we have been involved with a couple key projects that are noteworthy. Is we have ownership interest in an advanced algae company that's being done in partnership with the Applied Center for Renewable Resources. The reason I mention that, it is a model of public-private partnership with the university where a select number of private technology companies in advanced biofuels and bioproducts had set up shop in a campus to demonstrate the commercial aspects of their technology, but then to pull in the academic research and development abilities of Wageningen. And I mentioned the other project that we've been involved with at Wageningen University's Advanced Dairy Research Campus is also an example of public-private partnering where the city of Leeuwarden has invested capital in the rebuilding of their digesters. So we've got two real-world models that we've been involved with, involving food and energy and waste in these kind of partnership models that give us some sense of where we can go with our technology. Video part of it, but I'd like to talk to you about really what are the drivers, what is the need behind the whole movement for indoor agriculture. One way to look at it is to understand that currently less than 1% of our fresh food supply in the U.S. comes from controlled environment. In Europe, it's over 80%. And between Spain and the Netherlands, they feed almost all the MENA countries, the Middle East, African countries. But when you look at it locally, the real impact is the import of 95% of our food. And in Colorado, that's worth about $17 billion that is lost or leaked from our economy. And as you can see, agriculture is the third or fourth largest economic base with a huge job level, and 40 billion. Only the oil and gas, service, and aerospace industries top that. So if we move to indoor ag production, we shift to localization. Then, according to studies by Michael Schumann's group for Transitions Colorado and Boulder County, we could have a huge impact. So we're at the forefront of the movement toward indoor agriculture, but at the same time helping address those people that have food insecurity, are below the poverty line, are suffering from health issues. And this segment is the population within opportunity zones that we're targeting. So looking at the need for a controlled environment at the production level offers some very compelling reasons for why we need to move food production in this area. We get a consistent year-round supply. We're not affected by weather. We can produce extraordinary quantities of food, and in certain scenarios, more than 100 times the production of traditional agriculture. we shrink the transport, handling, and distribution of food, which right now we have food coming from thousands of miles away that's imported. We create huge water savings. We conserve farmland. We shrink the footprint, and all about a closed loop process where we have no waste, no emissions, and it's really the definition of true sustainability. And part of that, one of our major themes, is the whole idea of food waste to fresh food, which even in Europe, let alone the US, the idea of tying food waste in a circular economy to grow fresh food while making energy is truly a revolutionary concept. And we are clearly at the forefront of that. And controlled environment ag gives us the ability to have a huge palette of products that can be targeted to a very vast array of markets, and where we're focused in opportunity zones, which even include rural areas where we have dairy and beef and swine and poultry. So focused on opportunities zone possibilities, we developed a portfolio of projects that represent well over $100 million of capital development that over the next 5 years is, without even adding to our list, is what's on the table right now. What I want to do is highlight as the case study the opportunity working with Carl and his group with Jefferson County and the city of Westminster. And I mentioned our business model is one of public-private partnerships. And this is the kind of organizational model that brings in key stakeholders from critical aspects of the community that all organize under an opportunity zone to develop our local food system, and the idea of an innovation center, which I'll talk about a little more, but that's that value add that enhances the future value of this development. So within that, we have our public partners and university affiliates that collaborate to develop this project on real estate that the public sector owns. And through the opportunity zone, we build this infrastructure to serve the local market of end users. But within that is the circular economy of food waste, where the food waste generated from these consumers becomes the input to produce energy and fresh food. And on the educational side, we take the same waste, but we supply fresh food back to the schools and the colleges. But in doing so, we establish an education, job training, living, learning laboratory where we get students engaged in the real world of the enterprise of food and energy and water and waste systems. So Jefferson County has 5 zones of opportunity. We've targeted 2 as potential sites. This is an illustration of a build-out of a campus of mixed use that includes greenhouses, it includes our urban REEF model, and the idea of creating an agri-food tech innovation center together with affordable housing. And even in the case of this area, this site adjoins the State Correctional Facility at Camp George West. So we're looking, as part of the merit of this project, to provide transitional housing for inmates that are released from this facility, but then they can also work and be trained in this with the idea of what Carl called living, learning, working, eating, playing lifestyle. These are some of the architectural concepts we've developed to illustrate. This is an example of a REEF on one level. On the other extreme is a vertical mixed-use development that actually integrates office and housing and food energy production all as one development, taking the concept even further where we're doing higher density housing together with food production, vegetables on the roof, and fish aquaculture. Here is another illustration of the campus idea for hemp, and Carl could speak to this, but it's a vertical 2-level concept that really shows how much flexibility we've got to customize the design of these facilities to fit. So without spending time on the AFDI idea, but it's that center where innovation of the entire value chain from raw production to finished products can be brought to bear with research, development, job training integrated. So we're using this innovation center to continue to advance the science and technology of this whole closed loop. Here is a concept that Carl is promoting of the campus idea, but focused on hemp for medicinal, for industrial applications. And when you think about cannabis, there are over 25,000 products we know of that can be made from hemp. So we are just scratching the surface. So to put this in real economic terms, I wanted to just briefly highlight the economics of just a REEF project, not the mixed use, but just the food production system. So on a 2.5 acre site with a $10 million capital investment, we calculate a 5-year simple payback with a net present value in 10 years of $15 million. So if we're looking at the exit of this project, then the value here, this $5 million, would in increased value would be sheltered and deferred. This investment buys this kind of productivity. This is a living machine that is totally self-reliant. Other than seeds for plants and eggs for fish and shrimp, this is the Mars lunar greenhouse. This generates everything it needs in power, in heat. It runs off organic waste. It supplies 350,000 pounds of fish protein, 1.5 million pounds of produce, and it has these kind of impacts. So we have molecular level and techno-economic level modeling together with financing that allows us to calculate and quantify the impact of this project in terms of tax base, multiplier effect, jobs, but also in terms of how many people, give or take, plus or minus 20%, how many mouths we could feed out of 2.5 acres of production. I mean, that is astounding and shows you the potential market share. So, and I wanted to conclude, I'm about to wrap up, but another real-world example that an architect colleague of ours for many years, Gary Bailey of Innovative Design, did this project with a local architect and builder. But what's unique about it in many ways is that it's taking adaptive use of a parking garage and adding a food production system as part of this sliver of land. And we are currently talking with the city of Westminster about building a vertical reef together with parking structures as part of their new town, with the idea that the parking structure could be recycled and converted into food production, housing, or other beneficial uses when the day of the automobile, is bygone, and we're not needing parking garages for that purpose. This also is a very unique model for the partnership, where those key stakeholders come together for profit to create public benefit. And when we start to think about rolling this out on a statewide level, Carl's genius and innovation has come up with the idea of creating food hubs supported by a multitude of grower facilities in those key areas. We're looking at a $500 million program, 3,000 jobs, and local food production with impact that really revitalizes some rural areas. So ultimately, this is our goal. At the end of the day, is to have this kind of impact. You've seen what it looks like quantified, but the scope of this benefit is by far the greatest of any project. And I've spent 50 years, if you will, modeling environmental and sustainable development at the federal level and state and local level. It's the culmination of this impact that is overwhelming. But I will say, in spite of this, forming the capital, getting the investment has been, as Carl knows, we've been working together for 3 years, has been almost impossible. John Singal and I have been working on this for 6 years, have well over $1 million of our own capital invested, and yet we have not seen the level of investment, with the exception now with the Opportunity Zone legislation. Really, for the first time, we're seeing institutional investors come to the table, family offices and the like, and it's making the business case to accomplish these benefits in financial terms, and how we monetize this and offer an exit so that this long-term patient money gets a multiple of return. And that's the challenge before us.